In this video, we're taking a look at GoCollect's hottest comics for the week of January 15th. We got Star Wars books, of course, and we got some MCU books as well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. It is Monday, and you know what that means. We got to look at GoCollect's hottest comics for the week. Now, for those who don't know, GoCollect puts out a weekly article that analyzes the hottest selling comic books based on volume of sales and movement in the market. So like I like to do on these Mondays, let's take a look at January 15th's list and see what's trending in the market. But before I get into the books, if you guys could drop me a like or a comment or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, help support the channel, do one of those things, I would appreciate it. But let us get into our list here today, and we got a really cool list this week. Of course, we're going to have some Star Wars books. It feels like every week, because of Book of Boba Fett, we're having Star Wars books on this list, but we also got some great MCU spec as well. Now, I will put a link in the description if you guys want to do further reading. Of course, the article is written by Matt Tuck this week, but I will give you guys my analysis here as well. But starting off the list, coming in here at the number 5 spot is actually going to be Star Wars: The High Republic #1, which is new to the list and sitting in the 92nd spot. And what is the significance of this? Well, of course, this is the new Star Wars run about the High Republic era that came out in 2021, written by Kevin Scott. Now, if you guys remember, this was coming off the heels of season 2 of The Mandalorian, and this was a super hot book at all the LCSs that I was going to. I mean, I feel like if you didn't have this on your pull list on day one, you were going to have a hard time finding this book. And generally speaking, this particular run has been a very, very hot run within context to comic book collecting. A lot of people are speculating on a lot of the new Star Wars books, people trying to hoard all of the first appearances from these Star Wars runs. And the reason for that is because we know that Star Wars has announced that they are going to do some kind of property within context to the High Republic. Now, of course, that was like an announcement that came a couple years ago, so no one really knows what's going to happen, but people are willing to speculate on a book like this because if we think about, you know, some of the values of characters like Ahsoka or Boba Fett or what they're hitting now with regards to the Star Wars shows, and we think that one day in the future they're going to do a High Republic era, well, this book right here featured a slew of first appearances within context to this era, and if in fact they do some property within the High Republic, it definitely feels like this would be a very, very valuable book sometime in the future. But as we dig into the numbers for this one, we'll see that there are 9.8s selling fair market value around the $70 range. 30-day moving average is $81. But if we look at the last few sales, we can see, you know, 95, 85, 78. So it definitely feels like a book that has been trending upward overall and one that people want to have their hands on and cover their bases if in case we ever get the High Republic on Disney+. All right, let's move on now to the second hottest comic of the week. And the second hottest comic of the week is one that brings a smile to my face. This, of course, is Silver Surfer #1, new to the list this week, sitting at the 87 spot. And what is the significance of this? Well, of course, you guys know this is the big premiere issue of the Silver Surfer Volume 1, came out in 1968, written by Stan Lee and drawn by John Buscema. Now, this book right here would feature the origin of Silver Surfer. It would also feature the first appearance of Shia LaBeouf, who is Silver Surfer's love interest. It'll also feature the first appearance of Zenn-La, which is the Silver Surfer's home world. And of course, this is just one of the most iconic Silver Surfer covers there is in the market. Now, of course, this book has been hot for quite some time, especially if we rewind the clock back to, you know, the boom of 2021. It feels like a lot of people have been speculating on Silver Surfer. This book has definitely seen a massive spike up in the market over the course of like the calendar year. But generally speaking, like all things do, you know, everything can't maintain its peak value at all times. So it's had a little bit of a correction. And I think that's one of the reasons why, you know, people are starting to buy back in on this book. Additionally, of course, in the rumor mill of things, there has been some leaks and some discussion about the Silver Surfer possibly being the first villain that the Fantastic Four have to go against in their respective film. So that has definitely stirred up a lot of the speculation, people wanting to, you know, jump back onto the Silver Surfer stuff. Anytime there is murmurs about, you know, possible appearances or whatever with certain characters, that's always going to cause a little spike back up in the market. And as we dig into the numbers for this one, we'll see that there are, of course, 9.8s, only 9 on the census. Fair market value for those are around the $125,000 range, but it'd be hard to say what those would sell for today because there hasn't been sales in quite some time. But if we look down here, you know, around the 8.5 and 8.0 grade, we can see that the fair market value for those are higher than that of the 30-day moving average. 8.5 5 FMV is 4,700. 30-day moving average is 3,500. So it feels like, this book has corrected back down to a new floor. Maybe that's why a lot of people are jumping back on it. Similarly, the 8.0 3,800 FMV, 30-day moving, 3,360. So again, because of the correction, people are wanting to jump back on this book. And then down here at the low end, typically speaking, because I'm someone who is also searching for this thing, you'd have a hard time finding this book for less than $400 or so. And it makes sense as to why it's so expensive, because it is a great book, an iconic cover, and one that I would definitely love to have in the collection. All right, let's move on now to the third hottest comic of the week. And the third hottest comic of the week is Thor, #1, up 34 spots, sitting in the number 42 slot. And what is the significance of this? Well, of course, this is the first cover appearance, maybe it's the second cameo appearance of Jane Foster as Thor in the Jason Aaron run that came out in 2014. Now, of course, this is a book that has already gotten hot in the market because we know that Natalie Portman is going to be taking up the mantle of Thor in the new Thor Love and Thunder movie. We've already seen images of her at San Diego Comic-Con holding up Mjolnir. It feels like with a lot of the leaks and where the things are going, they're going to do sort of a Hawkeye, Kate Bishop sort of duo film with her and Chris Hemsworth. Now, as to why this book got hot this week, it's not really clear, but generally speaking, because we haven't really gotten that many images of Thor Love and Thunder, even though we know it's coming out this year, people are looking at Doctor Strange, people are looking at Moon Knight. It feels like, maybe this is the right time for a lot of collectors to hop on this book before we start to, get those images or get the anticipation of this film. But one of the interesting things about this book is that I believe that this is only a cameo appearance of Jane Foster. I mean, you see her right there on the cover, but kind of like the X-Men cover with Bishop on it, it feels like this is the one that the market gravitates to more, even though Thor #2, which is the next issue in the series, is technically Jane Foster's full appearance. So it would be really interesting to think about like how the perspective of this book is going to change when we get her in the MCU. Let me know what you guys think about this one. I mean, would you rather have this book right here, or would you rather have the next one in the series, which is her first full appearance? I mean, I kind of feel like people generally like full appearances more than cameos, but if that character is on the cover, incidentally, I think about like Alpha Flight and Bishop, sometimes that definitely affects the values and the desirability of the book. But as we dig into the numbers for this one, we'll see that there are 9.8s on the census selling fair market value around the $325 range. 30-day moving average is $335. So it's trading kind of right where it wants to be at the fair market value, if not slightly upward on its trajectory. Last couple sales, you have 300. You have a best offer here, 300, 340. So again, another book that is maybe sort of floating around where it wants to be. But generally speaking, if this is a book that people want to spec on, now feels like a good time to buy it. And that's probably one of the reasons why it's moved so much in the market. All right, let's go on now to the second hottest comic of the week. And the second hottest comic of the week is a very cool one. This, of course, is Amazing Spider-Man #4, up 22 spots, sitting in the 27th slot. And what is the significance of this? Well, of course, this is the first appearance of Cindy Moon, aka Silk, written by Dan Slott. Now, this is a book that came out in 2014 and I feel like has been really hot in the market. A lot of people have been specking on Silk. A lot of people really like this character. Of course, she has a lot of, popular hip hop covers that people go after. She's got her current comic book run that people seem to be liking. And most importantly, it was floated out into the pop culture space that Sony was developing either a TV show for this character or possibly a film for this character. People are thinking maybe Olivia Wilde was going to be directing a movie for this character. And for that reason, this has been a book that has been hot many times throughout the course of the last year. I always feel like it's showing up on lists or spiking, or people are chasing it, or people are looking for it, or people are talking about Silk in some kind of way. And in my opinion, I think that this is a great book and a great spec to have regardless. I mean, if we think about the Spider universe and how popular all the Spider-Man characters are, Silk seems like she has the potential to be right up there with some of the big Spider-Man characters. In fact, I would almost make the argument that Silk might be the fourth most popular Spider-Verse character behind Parker, Miles, and Gwen Stacy. Let me know what you guys think. Is there a fourth highest Spider character? Maybe there's some Ben Reilly fans out there. And as we dig into the numbers for this one, we'll see that there actually is a 10.0 on the census. There's only one, apparently, that has a fair market value of $825. That doesn't seem right to me. It feels like this would be a book that would easily sell for $2K. There are some 9.9s as well, 10 on the census, fair market value for those, $525. Again, I think that they would go for higher. And then, of course, the 9.8s, there's quite a few. Fair market value for those is around the $400 range. 30-day moving average is only $344. So that could be one of the reasons why, this book has corrected a little bit. Maybe people want to jump back on it. So it feels like maybe it's a decent buying opportunity, especially if we look back to June of 2021. This thing sold for a record of $467. So it feels like a lot of people can get in at a decent price for this thing when we look at that $375, $350, $334 range. So definitely an interesting book, a great spec in my opinion, and a character that I think we're going to have sometime in the future. All right, let's move on now to the hottest comic of the week. And the hottest comic of the week is one I'm sure you guys could have anticipated would have been the hottest comic of the week. But this is Darth Vader #3, up 49 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, of course, you guys know this is the first appearance of the character known as Dr. Aphra, a book that came out in 2015 in that Darth Vader run written by Kieran Gillen. Now, it was just last week that we got the reveal of Black Chrysanthemum, the bounty hunter Wookiee in the Book of Boba Fett. Darth Vader #1, which is his first appearance in this particular run, was the book that got really hot in the market. I think that was the #1 book. And of course, as speculators do, they start to connect those dots and they start to assume that, if we got Black Chrysanthemum and they're looking at this series right here, it's only a matter of time before Dr. Aphra shows up. So Dr. Aphra has been the hottest rumor for Book of Boba Fett. People don't know if we're going to see her, maybe at the end of the series as a cameo or a tease. Maybe she's going to be involved actually in the show. Still very, very unclear, but a lot of people are not willing to wait and wanting to hop on this book right now because they feel like this is going to be a big character in the future. That said, I can't really blame people for thinking that because this does seem to be a character that is very celebrated amongst comic book collectors. A lot of people really, really enjoy her portrayal in the comics. A lot of people really love this book. I see it being posted all the time, people talking about this thing. Even before we got Book of Boba Fett, it feels like this was a book that was popular all of last year. And I think a book that will continue to be popular even if we do get her in Book of Boba Fett. I feel like this is one that is going to be, very desired in the market for quite some time. And as we dig into the numbers for this one, we'll see that there are 9.8s selling fair market value around the $425 range, but 30-day moving average, you can see 447. So definitely a book that has, really been ticking up due to the excitement of Book of Boba Fett. If we look at the last couple sales, we'll see 558 right here. There's a best offer under 600, another one under 590, another 550, 560. So definitely a book that is hitting that $500 threshold consistently. And it'll be really interesting to see what the high for this book will go for if in fact we actually get her in the Book of Boba Fett showing up like in an episode or perhaps, in a tease at the end of the season. I feel like if we get her in some kind of cliffhanger ending in a tease at the end of the season, this book is absolutely going to be going to the moon. Anyways, that is all I have for this video. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys have any of these books? Are you guys specking on any of this stuff? Drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and I will see you in the next video.